And so with the pressure lines there, then the inspector can see how they come out of the insulation and across. So before I put the plywood down after that insulation inspection. So back onto that. All right, so I've run into a hiccup here. Shaving off these bumps of concrete illustrated to me that these are actually 2 pours of concrete. This lower one is the largest, of course, and then there's about 7 inches of another pour on top of that. And I of course don't know when that occurred, but I'm guessing during the first construction they just needed to pour more to raise it up. Anyway, so the problem is that this joint just happens to fall where these holes are, which is where bolts need to go in. And of course, that's a no-no. So I've asked the engineer for permission to lower 2 inches, which would be sitting on top of this pier for the ridge beam post, which would mean that the holes are still only 2 inches below this edge here, which might not be enough. So if they need to be 4 inches below or so, then I would have to take these L brackets back to Viking and have them drill a new set of holes 2 inches from the bottom, so that we could have these bolts be in more meat, more solid of the concrete away from the edge. So I've left a message with the engineer on that, which means I'm dead in the water on this part of the work. So I guess I will try to do some cleanup and see how far I can get. All right, so right now I'm testing the pipe, the 3/4 inch pipes that I soldered up last night to go under this bay right here. They're going to go under this through this opening here. And so what I've done is I'm hooking up my temporary water line from the hot water heater to the end of this pipe. And I'm not testing this joint, I'm just using it as my test fixture. But 1, 2, and then there's an elbow out there. So I'm testing 3 joints basically in each pipe, because two of these joints are going to be inside insulation once the subfloor is on. So these three pipes start near the top of the joist bay here and slope down, and then the 45 degrees L here goes down through the 1-inch insulation that's holding up the fiberglass insulation, and then comes across another 45 degrees, comes across, and then they're going to terminate in this place for the moment until I'm ready to tie in these to the rest of the main part of the house water. So anyway, that's what I'm up to right now. All right, finally got the pressure plumbing done for this part here. So I've got this wood bracket here holding them up, and then there's a spacer there and a spacer there, increasing altitude toward the wall. I'm doing that so that this house drains really well. Of course, upstairs I'll be putting in vacuum release valves and things like that. So yeah, so the pressure plumbing's done for this part. Now I need to await my engineer's response for what to do about this level here. In the meantime, I can be digging out a little bit of dirt. All right, so I've dug out as much as I want to dig out. This is right here is about 20 inches below the joist. So the reason I'm doing this is it does give someone a chance to come through that hole, as it'll be about 24 inches on the other side of this wall here. And so someone could come through the hole and into this cavity here. If they needed to do any plumbing, they could come into this area right here to inspect anything if they wanted to. So I just wanted to give some volume for a person to come in if they needed to. It was damn near impossible before. So anyway, I'm done digging out. So now it's time, because I haven't heard from the engineer, I'm going to try and cut these sleepers that go across here out of pressure treated 2x6. This is about 3 inches or 3.5 inches below the bottom of the subfloor. So maybe more than a 2x4, but less than a 2x6. And they'll be sistered up with the joists that are running into the foundation and resting on these L brackets here. So this is what I was talking about, 2x6, and I've trimmed out to match the surface of the concrete so that the joist height is the right height. Now when we put this all together, I'm going to be wrapping plastic around the concrete so that to form a vapor barrier over the concrete, and then of course these will sit on, and then insulation. All right, folks, so I got off the phone with Bert, the engineer, and we came up with this solution. So, well, the problem to review is that this is the concrete block that was the chimney foundation right there. It's 5 feet by 6 feet. And I discovered that there is a joint here. It's like they poured the bottom first, realized it was too low, and then poured the top, and then built a chimney on top of that. So, and that's about where we wanted to run the Titan bolts through the L break or L beam, and they would end up going into that joint, which is no bueno. So, what we ended up coming up with is sliding the beam down 2 inches, because that's how much room I have. This line and the dotted line, hidden line, and then the solid line there, that represents the pier for the ridge beam post. And we only have 2 inches that we can go down until the bar is going to be touching that. So one suggestion was that we lower the beam 2 inches, and then we drill 2 vertical holes for rods, threaded rod. All right, so halfway between these 2 holes and 6 inches from the edge. That way we have a bolt going down through the 7-inch. This is 7 inches tall here. And if it's 13 inches, then it'll go 6 inches down through or in between these 2 bolts, and go 4 inches deeper. And the point of this is that we would be epoxying the rod into the bottom and then using a nut to cinch this 7-inch pad and hold it stable against the lower block. The reason we need to do this is because there's only 2 inches from the center line of the Titan bolt up to the joint. So that's not a lot of concrete to keep this bolt from rotating, pressing down on the outside edge of the concrete. So we're basically assuming that there was no joinery, no rebar or epoxied rebar or whatever between this top block and the bottom block. We're assuming the top block is just sitting there. So we're going to bolt the 2 together. We're also going to put another bolt 2 inches in from the last hole in the L beam and tighten that down when the epoxy hardens. And so that's our solution for being able to shift these 2 Titan bolts down, or all the Titan bolts down 2 inches from this joint. 2 inches plus the 1.5 inches for the original nailer means that I can use a 4x4 on top of the L beam as my nailer. So that's what I'm preparing to fasten together right now. Okay, so this is how the L beam is supposed to work here. So I've got 2 holes to hold the nailer, this 4x4 nailer, to the beam. 4 holes. There's 2 there, and then 2 there. And it turns out that the beam is actually sitting on top of the concrete, and I'm going to put a mark where that hole is on the concrete to verify it's 2 inches below the joint or more. And these are the holes where the Titan bolts go. And then, of course, the joists just sit right on this. Right now, this L beam is level, so it's after I
draw the holes, pull it off, take a look, measure. If I'm comfortable, then I can attach some epoxy and glue it to the concrete. And the reason I'm doing that is just so that it holds so the epoxy holds the L-beam steady while I'm drilling into the concrete for the Titan bolts, because of course the drill bit is going to want to wander as it hits different aggregate, and we want that to be as straight as possible. So, all right.
All right, folks, I'm calling it a week. I got a lot done. So I got the L beams bolted to the side of the foundation. I've installed the lower part of the column that supports the ridge beam and verified that it is as close as I can possibly measure, given my tools, within the middle of the house. So left to right. And it's as far toward the street as it can go and still bear on the center of that pad. And then I've got all these other pieces cut and leveled using the laser level, except the pair of beams here. I'm going to have to, because the L beam is actually resting on the pier for the post, it's actually like a 1/4 inch higher on the end than it should be. So I'm just going to notch out the bottom of that pair of 2x8s right there. That's the double beam that the columns are resting on when they sit on top of the subfloor. So that's the last structural piece that I need to, the last big structural piece I need to cut and measure. I've got a bunch of little tiny pieces to put in between for bracing. I have to add lag bolts to finish attaching the nailer to the L beam. And then, so all these other pieces of 2x8, those are all dry fitted. I'm going to remove those, wrap this in plastic, tighten down the 4 bolts that I put in, and then start putting in the finished installation of these 2x8s here. And then these sets, of 4 sets of 2x8s that go in this area are really easy. They just span these 3 beams here. And then we'd be, and of course I'll be leveling those each as I go using the laser level. And once I do a final nailing of everything, then I can get a structural inspection. So almost there. I should have insulation in next week, all things considered. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you.